Welcome everybody to Crystal Kyle and Friends. Today we're going to be talking to Cameron Kasky, who's running for Congress in New York's 12th district. It's currently Jerry Nadler's district. He's retiring. There's roughly 412 people running for this seat.
But this is the only one you really need to know about.
True. I mean, they got JFK's grandson is running, right? Schlossberg or whatever his name is. And like something about the way he rolled out his campaign just really irked the shit out of me.
Yeah. And there's another guy, I don't remember his name, who's sort of like, I think he might have been like an aide to Jerry Nadler. He's kind of like getting the imprimatur from Nadler. I don't know if he's directly endorsed him, but that's sort of the guy. Maybe he's a state rep. I don't remember the details. We can ask Cameron about all that.
The Schlossberg guy was being interviewed by somebody who was given like a softball interview, and they were like, You are on X number of platforms and you have 1 million subscribers and followers. And he goes, actually, it's 2 million. I was like, fuck this guy, bro. Who are you? Fuck off.
Yeah.
I hate the dynasty. You know I hate the dynasty shit. I
hate it. And in my opinion, he doesn't have the swag to pull off that kind of a vibe. So.
But I do see a lot of thirst trapping about him.
Do you?
I mean, just like, it's so crazy. Basic ass white boys get like people fucking falling all over themselves for them. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the most basic white boy I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that there's so many people in the primary may end up benefiting Cameron because he's clearly carving out like the lefty position. Yeah. Like he's with us on everything. He's outspoken. He's like doing the whole social media game to an excellent degree. And so, you know, if everybody else, it's a district that it's like Upper West Side and Upper East Side. So it's not the most lefty part of New York City. But if you have all of those like more centristy establishment types sort of splitting that part of the vote, he may be able to win with like, I don't know, 30% or something. And we can ask him about his strategy.
And Nadler wasn't that bad. Nadler was not a bad congressman.
No, and he had his moments speaking out against Israel's genocide. I don't think, I mean, he wasn't like a Rashida Tlaib or, calling it a genocide, but he spoke out against human rights abuses and was to the left of your average Democratic elected on the issue. And other than that, he's quite progressive. And so anyway, we need to up the ante. We need someone to improve upon what he was doing there.
And Cameron would do exactly that. So anyway, I'm super excited to talk to him. We've been trying to get him in here for a couple of weeks now. Finally, it's all come together. Super excited. All right. So before we get into that, though, I'm losing my goddamn mind every single day. Every single day, Crystal, we stray further and further from the light of God. I mean, it's just like, how many wars can you wage? How many things can you bomb? How much like piracy can you do? So, of course, what I'm referring to is you had the U.S. illegally seize a Venezuelan oil tanker.
Yeah.
Getting us closer and closer to just doing regime change. Obviously, we've been murdering fishermen for quite a while now. So let me show you a clip here. This is Trump talking about that.
Well, thank you very much. It's been an interesting day from the standpoint of news. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening. So.
Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug leader?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next, too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. Yeah.
Mr. President?
Because we don't like people when they kill people. And they sell drugs, they kill them in the United States, and Colombia is a major manufacturer of drugs, meaning cocaine in particular.
So now we're just full mobocracy now.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Our government
best.
is a criminal gangster
global
mafia,
terror network.
Global terror network.
Yeah. I mean, just think back to how we reacted when the Houthis were messing with like not even our ships, like Israeli flagged or other, Israeli ally
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Ships. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we called them terrorists.
Mm-hmm. And we started bombing the shit out of them.
We launched an entire war against them for daring to mess with, sea traffic. And that was them trying to, do their part to end the genocide in Gaza. Here, we're just, we're pirates, right?
It's also so
we're
on the nose.
Economic terrorists and pirates here.
It's so on the nose, too, to just sees an oil tanker? Because, like, all of your critics are correctly saying this has nothing to do with drugs. It's about the oil. It's about the mineral wealth. It's about wanting a puppet regime.
But they're not even hiding. I mean, it's almost insulting. Like, they don't even give us propaganda anymore. It's just, I mean, the drug thing is a complete and total fucking lie.
You've seen Salazar, right? The Republican congresswoman?
Congresswoman from South Florida.
Yeah.
And you know what? You want to talk about, like, people... There are people in South Florida, especially politicians, and now who are in the White House, Marco Rubio among them, who, like, this is their ideological, this is their whole shit, right? This Cold War legacy, we're going to take over, we're going to be able to go back to Cuba, we're going to be able to go back to Venezuela, Nicaragua, like, this is their whole thing. And they have been pushing whatever they could do to try to get this outcome. And of course, I mean, Trump, the first administration, they did the whole Juan Guaido attempted coup plot thing, which, by the way, had a ton of bipartisan support, which is disgusting. And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to that in just a moment. But, you know, he says, okay, we took this tanker and there's going to be a lot more to come. The other thing to know about this is, you know, the Nobel Peace Prize lady Machado.
Psycho-ass bitch. Fuck the Nobel Committee.
Who is, you know, that's who we want as, like, our puppet there, right? Her or her allies. Well, she just, with our help, left Venezuela. There's a whole Wall Street Journal story about how she snuck out undercover and blah, 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 with U.S. military escort. And then it's as soon as she's gone that we take this action and seize the tank. So this is all part of a plot that is being effectuated because we didn't want, you know, her to be punished or killed by the Maduro government in retaliation for this. So we get her out, and then it's safe for us to seize this oil tanker, and God knows what's next. Because, yeah, these psychos, they want the oil, they want their regime change, they want it to be, you know, whoever their puppet is to put in there. And the crazy thing is that Maduro came to Trump and was like, if you want the oil, like, you can have it. Like, I'll sell it to you. I'll do business. What minerals do you want? Like, I will leave. I won't leave right now, but I will leave. It needs to be a little more on my own terms, and here's how I want the process to go. So even if you're like, I just want the oil, he is willing to do that. So it's just, I think the fact that it's an oil tanker on its way, by the way, to Cuba shows you how just nakedly ideological this whole thing is. And Sagar calls it a Miami-occupied government, and I think that is very well said.
Well, I like it. They said America first, right? But now it's, no. What we meant was America's first, like the Americas, including Central and South America.
Yeah, Jesse Waters literally said, well, America is in the name.
Bro. It's in the name. This is America
of course
first.
It's America first.
And like, Jon Stewart did a great job breaking down the parallels between Iraq and now Venezuela.
So good.
It is shockingly similar. It's almost identical to the point where they're doing the thing of like, oh, it'll be a cakewalk. We'll be welcomed as liberators. We'll go in there. It'll be 1, 2, 3 done. Like we'll get, you know, the government will, everybody will be happy. It'll be amazing.
Created as liberators.
The oil will pay for the war. Like they're all that shit. They're doing it again.
Yeah.
They're doing it again. And Trump, it's so ironic that Trump, the guy who half the time was like, the Iraq war was stupid. It was a big fat mistake. The neocons are terrible. Did the whole anti-war tap dance. And I fucking pat myself on the back as hard as I fucking can right now because I warned everybody. It's bullshit. When you look at his actual policy record, he's a massive warmonger. Now, I could not have been more vindicated. And I wish I was fucking dead wrong. I wish I was as wrong could be. But I'm not. And of course, nobody will be like, hey, you know what? All of us assholes who were pretending Trump was anti-war, we'll hold that L now. None of them will do that.
Well, and here's the other thing that is very noteworthy and also really an issue is, you know, in the lead up to the Iran bombing, there were actually, you had Tucker, you actually did have Charlie Kirk who was saying we should not do this. You did have some like right-wing MAGA voices that had some influence in the White House that were like, we should not go in this direction. And I do think that's part of why so far it was a limited engagement. You don't have that this time. You know, basically Sagar and Emily are the only people on the right who have anything to say that is critical of this. Overwhelmingly, they've all bought into this claptrap about like, oh, the Monroe Doctrine, and oh, it says America in the name, so this must be America first, or oh, they're narco-terrorists, blah, blah, blah. Like, they have completely, the right-wing influencer class has completely bought into all of this bullshit. So there's nothing internally that will create any sort of friction to pursuing this policy. So I don't think anyone should be surprised that we're off to the races now with a, you know, regime change war.
As soon as Trump started bombing Iran, the numbers among MAGA Republicans supporting that
Yeah.
shot up to 95%. And it was, I believe it was like 75% for non-MAGA Republicans that supported it.
Yeah.
That's fucking devastating. I never want to hear another fucking word about anybody on the right being anti-war. Anti-war my ass cheeks. You could take your most pro-war liberal or leftist, and they're still less pro-war than the fucking Republicans.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a sick joke.
The only people that you hear on the right, let me give an addendum to Sagar and Emily, because Rand Paul is out there. And
But they're libertarians.
And Thomas, but that's what I was going to say, is they are libertarians, and Trump doesn't really get, like, he already hates Thomas Massie and probably doesn't have a lot of love lost for Rand Paul either. In fact, they had some whole spat about Rand Paul wasn't invited to some party. Whatever. Anyway, so he doesn't give a shit what they have to say.
And they
right?
and they also, by the way, we need to point
They
this
have
out
no
too.
influence.
But they also do the two-step, where it'll be like, oh, he needs, like Dave Smith did it, he needs to be impeached, and then like within a month he's right back to being like, you know, I think he did a good job on this other policy. It's like,
yeah, but I do appreciate like Rand Paul being out there and arguing very directly and forcefully, not only against like regime change war, but even talking about, hey, there's no evidence that these so-called drug boats are actually faring drugs.
no,
Like he's doing
he's
the
right
whole
about
thing.
all that. He's right about all that. The only thing that annoys me about him on this issue is that he usually refuses to say Trump's name. He'll argue like, you know, this policy is a bad idea, and I'm against this policy, but the guy who's doing the policy is not such a bad guy. You know, it's like that stuff. It's like, can we stop with the fucking soft pad? Would they treat him like he's a toddler? Like, okay, you want to treat him like he's a toddler? Let's treat him like he's a toddler in the sense that he's a toddler throwing a tantrum, and you draw bright red lines. You're like, you're going to shut the fuck up. How about that?
Yeah.
How about treating him like a toddler in that way instead of the, oh, let me hold your hand and walk you through it. He's 80 years old.
I mean,
he's 80.
The other thing with this too is like for all their like, oh my God, the immigrants and the, you know, the migrant invasion, blah, blah, blah. It's like you're planning to destabilize a whole fucking country.
Correct.
Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Then they're going to whine and bitch and moan when you have Venezuelans trying to not die.
Yeah, and I don't want to. And I don't want to hear a fucking word about it.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
you
swing those doors open, baby.
You broke it. You bought it.
Yep,
like,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's and with this one, it's so direct and so clear. But with, I mean, in so many instances of the refugee crises that you know that do lead to people migrating here, like if you dig one level below, we are somehow involved in creating the mess that led to the immiseration, that led to people having to do something that is very difficult that they didn't really want to do, which is having to leave their homes.
And also the like, I just got the FIFA Peace Prize.
Oh, Jesus
And I stopped 8 wars. Everybody pat me on the back and tell me how amazing it is that I stopped 8 wars. He actually stopped 0 wars, but this is what he says, right?
Yeah.
So he wants all the fucking accolades and the support and the clapping over being a man of peace. And then here he is going like, I'll overthrow you too, the president of Colombia. I'll overthrow you, and we're going to overthrow Maduro, and I'm also going to bomb Iran again. And it's like, you can't have it both ways. I hate people like this who, they really try to have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like, have their cake and eat it too. Their whole life, it's like, I'm going to be the biggest asshole in the world, but you're going to treat me like I'm actually the most kind person. It was like, no, we're not playing this game. We're not playing this game.
The other thing that is politically interesting is, you know, the whole nexus of like the political, the constituency for this policy is like in South Florida, right? It's the Cuban expat community and to a lesser extent, Venezuelans and Nicaraguans. And that's where Marco Rubio, like that's his whole shit, right? And Susie Wiles is also from there. Anyway, we just had the Miami mayoral election this week.
Right.
Massive, I mean, Democrats dominated. This is a seat they haven't won in like, I think like 30 years.
Yeah, it was in the 1990s.
Yeah, and Kamala did win Miami, but it was by 0.7 of a point. This lady just won by 19 points. And so you have Cubans and, like I said, to a lesser extent, those other 2 nationalities who are used to them being a different immigrant community and like getting treated differently and not being subject to the same like demonization and deportation as other immigrant groups. And they have not been protected in this way.
Trump has been deporting the shit out of Cubans.
Yes,
and so they're turning.
Venezuelans, like massive,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even more aggressive attacks on Venezuelans. And so, yeah, so there has been somewhat of a turn against him on immigration and on deportations. And then also, just like everybody else, they're like, the economy is total shit. So part, I think, also of this policy and why it's not an accident, this is also happening this week right after this electoral rebuke in Miami, is to like get them back on board and do like, oh, but I'm doing this Venezuela regime change thing that you want. their belief is that if you take out Maduro in Venezuela, then it's like a reverse domino effect, and then Miami will fall, and then Nicaragua. Like they think that will all, that will lead
Miami
to this.
Will fall?
Nicaragua.
Oh, okay.
Cuba
was
the one I meant to say if I said
you
Miami.
said Miami
Anyway,
will fall. I was like, what?
Whatever. They're tied together in my head. But anyway, so they think that, you have Venezuela, Maduro taken out, and then Cuba will fall, and it's this reverse domino effect thing. So that's what they're going for here. And so this is also a sop to Trump's South Florida constituency to get them back on board after they, like the entire rest of the country, are disgusted with his policies.
And we heard this about the Middle East too. Like there's the explicit argument Netanyahu made about why we need to go to war with Iraq to topple Saddam, is that he falls and then it's like a Liberty bomb explodes and then you're going to have Iran fall and these other countries are going to fall. It's like childish. But now let's get to the Democratic reaction.
Yeah. How's the opposition party responding?
God, this guy's the fucking worst, I swear to God. All right, show me the clip of Chuck Schumer.
Do you disagree with President Trump's ultimate goal of regime change in Venezuela?
Look, the bottom line is President Trump throws out so many different things in so many different ways. You don't even know what the heck he's talking about. Obviously, if Maduro would just flee on his own, everyone would like that. But we don't know what the heck he's up to when he talks about that. So it's very, very, you cannot say, I endorse this, I endorse that, when Trump is all over the lot, not very specific, and very worrisome at how far he might escalate.
Oh my God, I don't know what he's gonna do. Is he gonna do a war over here? Is he gonna do a war over there? He's doing all these wars. But what am I supposed to say about it? Make your mind up, Mr. President. Either do the war or don't do the war, but you gotta be consistent with your warmongering. That's the best you can fucking do? That's your belief? Because he low-key supports it.
Yes.
Let's be honest. He low-key supports it.
He high-key supports it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they were all behind the fucking Juan Guaido bullshit.
Yeah, and you're right. They pretended like Juan Guaido was the president of Venezuela.
Yeah, they literally did a standing
alive.
ovation for him when he was at the State of the Union. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of them. Ro Khanna responded to that and said, yes, Democrats oppose regime change war in Venezuela. Instead of wasting trillions on endless wars, we must invest in jobs, healthcare, and housing for Americans. Why is this hard? We need a new generation to lead our party with moral clarity and conviction. I mean, it really is the perfect, Democratic elite leadership failure to be like, well, maybe I'd support the war, but Trump is just so chaotic and incompetent. That's my real issue with it. It's like, Jesus Christ, and what are you doing? Florida is lost. It's not a swing state. You don't have to cater to these people anymore or pretend like you care about their weird Cold War hangover politics. You can just side with the overwhelming majority of American people who are like, no to the drug boat bombings, no to another regime change war, no to a war for oil. Could we get some health care? Could we get some, housing costs reduced? Could we get back the ability to buy groceries? So I don't know what we're doing here with Chuck Schumer. Why isn't there a single senator who's willing to come out and say this guy needs to go? He is the biggest fail. Hakeem Jeffries is also really bad. This guy is somehow actually worse.
There was a memo in the House where the Democratic leadership said, don't say anything about the Venezuela policy. The marching orders were, let them cook. Let the Republicans cook on this. And it's like, you wonder why, this party has struggled and this party has lost to Trump a couple times. It's actually not that hard to figure out.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this is what you're screaming to the world here is, I don't believe in anything. I don't actually care. I don't actually have a thought process, a belief system, an ideological core. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, every single Democratic voter in the country is like, I'm anti-war. I don't think we should do a war unless it's an absolute necessity, last resort type thing. We're about to imminently be attacked. That's when I think it's moral to do a war. Outside of that, I don't want to do a war. And so every Democratic voter wants to see you say, what the fuck? Why are you bombing Iran? Why are you bombing Yemen? Why are you bombing Somalia? Why are you murdering fishermen in Venezuela? Why are you fucking threatening Colombia? What the fuck is this? Do you have any idea? Democrats have been doing great in these special elections. Do you have any idea how much better they would be doing if they also fucking believed in something? And look, we have a lot of smoke for Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, but spare some smoke as well for, like you pointed out, we're getting not a peep of anything from any of you motherfuckers except Ro Khanna and maybe a handful of others.
Chris Van Hollen also had some good comments.
Shout out Chris Van Hollen. Shout out Ro Khanna. Shout out the less than 10 that have mentioned something. How many fucking Democrats are there in Washington, D.C.? Why can't this be? We're literally watching another Iraq war type situation unfold right in front of our eyes, where they're not even doing a good propaganda buildup like they did in the early 2000s for Iraq. And you still can't provide a unified front and fucking argue against this? Like, I'm sorry, you just need to get out of politics if you don't believe in an anti-war perspective. If you're a Democrat, you are not representing your constituents if you're pro-war. If you want to, like, everything they've said about this war, this fucking Republican war, is a lie. They're lying about the drug portion of it. They're lying about him being the head of some fucking cartel. They're lying about, we're killing drug traffickers. Even if they were killing drug traffickers, that would still be illegal because that's not how you handle that. You would seize the boat and arrest them and give them a fucking trial. Every element of this has been a lie. And if you can't, like, this is tailor-made in a lab for you to fucking dunk on them all day long.
Yeah.
And you still don't want to do it. It drives me crazy. Don't stop. Just get out of politics if you're a Democrat and you don't want to fight this stuff.
Here's the polling. So this is from the end of November. CBS News YouGov asked whether people would favor or oppose U.S. taking military action in Venezuela. 70% would oppose.
Oh my God.
70%. Like, this is the biggest political layup. And still, they're so afraid of their own shadow to take a clear position. I mean, Chuck Schumer, even if you low-key support it, like, take the cynical political move, for God's sakes, and just outright oppose it, right? And the messaging is so clear and so easy. At a time when Americans are struggling, when they're saying, I can't afford groceries, I can't afford housing, I can't afford medicine, God, I will never be able to dream of, like, going on a vacation. At that time, you're deciding, rather than focusing on that, to focus on some regime change nightmare war in Venezuela. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And they can't, like, it's sitting right there, so obvious for the taking. And he can't get his act together, even just to cynically adopt that position.
We got to see all these Democrats that are saying nothing or supporting this low key. Everybody's got to show. How much money are they taking from Raytheon? How much money are they taking from Lockheed Martin? How much money are they taking from Honeywell? All these different so-called defense contractors, really they're offense contractors. How much money are they taking from them? Because that's got to be at the core of a lot of this, is like, it's the low-key belief of, like, yeah, we run the world, we rule it, and it's warfare is actually welfare in this country. It's a big business. And so, they're part of the system. They're part of the system.
Right.
So it's a fucking shame. But now let's get to the media. And
doing their part, too.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing their part, too. Take a look at how CNN discussed this.
Seizing a tanker. How could this escalate the conflict with Venezuela?
Well, we've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil since the first Trump administration. And
Biden kept them.
Kept them.
Yeah.
So to me, this is absolutely normal. I mean,
seizing an oil tanker?
Yeah. We've been seizing Iranian oil tankers in the past. We also, according to the law that I've read, that oil is up for forfeiture. So we could keep that. We've kept Iranian oil in the past. So I actually think that this is less controversial in terms of law and sanctions and what has been, disputed or not disputed. Like, I think this is actually a pretty, check the box case. Now, what will this mean in terms of escalation? What is he going to do? What is Maduro going to do? Is he going to step aside because we're sanctioning this oil? I mean, we pick up this oil tanker. It's one oil tanker. Probably not.
That woman needs to be fired. She needs to come out and apologize and also be fired. This is unacceptable. I mean,
well, it's not even true what she's saying.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not true.
The last time that we seized an oil tanker, I mean, first of all, this is just piracy. Like, we have no right to do this.
Of course.
No right. And if some other country seized our oil tanker, like, we would correctly perceive that as a brazen, provocative act of war, which is what this is. The last time that we took such an extraordinary, not at all normal action was over a decade ago, and it had to do with Libya. So, I mean, to pretend, oh, this is just normal. Look, Trump didn't even pretend like it was normal. He was like brag, oh, it's the largest one that's ever been seized before, blah, blah, blah. So to normalize this and act like this is just the ordinary course of business is so insane. God, we're so arrogant. We just think we can do whatever we want, wherever we want, to whoever we want, with zero consequences ever.
To me, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, politically, the biggest sign of idiocy is someone who doesn't try to put the shoe on the other foot and do the intellectual exercise that you just did. What if Iran seized our oil tanker, right? What if China seized our oil tanker? What would our reaction be?
Yeah.
Is there any way that our country would be like, you know what, we were going to make a big deal out of it, but it turns out there's some Chinese statute that says they sanctioned us over something. Therefore, according to their own law, they're allowed to do this. Forget international law. Their own law says they're allowed to do this.
Right.
So you know what? It's cool. It's like when we do drone strikes and then we go, this isn't an act of war. Oh, really? So if Iran did a drone strike on a U.S. military base in Texas, and then they looked at us and said, relax, that wasn't an act of war.
Right. No big deal.
That was a limited strike. Are you fucking kidding me? So I mean it when I say the biggest sign of idiocy when it comes to politics is not putting the shoe on the other foot, not applying the golden rule. And I'm not kidding when I say throughout all of elite media and among all elite politicians, not a single one of them ever comes remotely close to even sniffing the idea of trying to put the shoe on the other foot.
Right.
So, and by the way, that's why she's hired. That's why she's hired. They want idiots to make idiotic points like that. So when we do it, it's always okay, no matter what. And that's why I always said Noam Chomsky was the only person I saw growing up who actually tried to objectively apply international law, which is why I was like, interested in his commentary.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, this guy has one standard that he holds everybody to. You're not allowed to do that in the U.S.
Yeah.
No, we're above any rule, any regulation, any law, international, domestic, or otherwise. And I'm fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sick of it.
And here's the thing is they know that what they're doing with, I think not necessarily this action, but with the drug boat bombings and the double tap strikes and all of this, like they know this is a major legal issue for them because they're now pressuring the ICC to change their,
right here.
Do you want to set that up? To
so,
change their own rules to say, oh, we'll never investigate Donald Trump or his administration.
Scoop, the Trump administration wants the International Criminal Court to amend its founding document and commit to not investigating President Donald Trump and his top officials, an administration official told Reuters, adding that this ask has been made known to court and allies. So now they're like going, you better change your fucking founding charter to say I'm allowed to commit crimes.
We don't even participate in the ICC. And we have the nerve to be like, you better change your founding documents so that my war crimes are never investigated. And the other way you know that they know what they're doing is brazenly illegal by our own laws, let alone by the standards of international law, is because when there was another boat strike and there were survivors, they instead of bringing them here to face trial because they didn't think that they would be able to prove that they were drug traffickers. They didn't want the humanity of these people to be on display and for Americans to actually see who they are and what they're up to. Instead, they repatriated them to their home countries. And there was just reporting about how in that meeting, the message went out, we cannot bring these people to our court system. We cannot even bring them to Guantanamo Bay because then they would be able to file a habeas petition and even that would be an issue for us. So we have to, even though we claim these are narco-terrorists, we're going to send them back to their own home countries without any sort of punishment, no jail time, no nothing. If what they're saying was actually true, that would be complete insanity. But we know that they're just lying. We know that, we already have one family who says this was my husband, a fisherman, who you just murdered. And so part of their cover-up is just to send people back to their home countries because I think after the first double tap strike, they realized oh, well, that's probably going to be really majorly illegal, no problem for us. That's
exactly right. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Epstein. So we got some new Epstein leaks. By the way, shout out to Murtaza Hussain, Sagar, and Ryan, because they've been going through all of these Epstein emails. And where others are just, mainstream media is just dropping the ball on this largely.
Let me give kudos to one other person, which is Jason Leopold over at Bloomberg. They've been doing some good reporting too, and they have a new piece out that I recommend to you guys as well about Epstein's Wall Street connections and how deep and widespread they were, how his conviction was no problem for them whatsoever. They just continued doing business with him all the way along. But Ryan and Maz have a great, very insightful and important news scoop. We can put E1 up on the screen here, this tear sheet. Oh boy. Tear sheet from Drop Site. The headline is, Ask Jeffrey, Epstein ran Wexner's pro-Israel philanthropy machine. Emails reveal, put the next one up on the screen too, just so you can see this email exchange between Les Wexner, who's a billionaire. He was behind Victoria's Secret, Limited, sort of reclusive guy, and has widely been seen, and we get a lot more light shed on that in this reporting, as the primary financial backer of Jeffrey Epstein. So right after that sweetheart deal was announced down in Florida, and we know that Epstein is going to face some jail time, very minimal, Wexner emails him and says, Abigail told me the result. All I can say is I feel sorry. You violated your own #1 rule, always be careful. And Jeffrey replies, no excuse. So you tell me if that seems like someone who knew what was going on. There's no like, oh my God, how could you? I can't be associated with you anymore. On the contrary, is, oh my gosh, I'm sorry for you. I guess, you just didn't do a good job covering up all of your crimes. But the long TLDR of this report from Ryan and Maz is, the Wexner Foundation had long claimed that Epstein had very limited connection to them, that after his sweetheart deal, he had no more connection whatsoever. All just brazen lies, complete and total lies. Jeffrey Epstein effectively had complete control over Les Wexner's personal fortune and his, from his investment decisions, but also then how much of that money was going into this foundation. And under Epstein's watchful eye, the Les Wexner Foundation became the #3 supporter of pro-Zionist causes here in the U.S. So he was directing hundreds of millions of dollars from the Wexner Foundation, Epstein was, to go to pro-Zionist charities here, and was, the one making those decisions really directly.
So Epstein, at this point, there's no, nobody can hide from it. Epstein not only was Mossad, he was like an Israeli point man. He was like the head of a sprawling international agency, spearheading Israeli interests. He's the guy who got, he facilitated this big deal with the Ivory Coast to get them surveillance technology. He did that on behalf of Israel.
Yeah.
You don't do that unless you're literally working for the government of Israel.
Yeah, to deny that at this point is just to deny the reality of the reporting that's been out there. And I think Israel was the #1, government that he was working for, with, et cetera. But I don't think it was the only one either.
Yeah,
there's also emails about him with Russia.
Right.
I think he was, for sale. And it's crazy when you read these emails and you see just how much sway this one man had in these major international, from elections to massive business deals, diplomacy between countries. But, Israel was the primary focus.
And the blackmail network is undeniable. That's all the people, who are really in his environment, all of the big name politicians and celebrities and whatever.
Yeah.
Every single one of them has all these different allegations. It really was the most disgusting perverts who were the ones who were closest to him who he had the blackmail on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's it really is a red flag. Anybody who who is in his immediate orbit, it's immediate red flag. That guy's got some fucking insane dirt on him.
Yeah. But, we've long asked this question, okay, how did he become so wealthy? And between this reporting on Les Wexner and the fact that he basically, Wexner is the guy who gave him his Upper East Side mansion, right? So between, how much he was able to just directly take Les Wexner's money, how much Wexner was paying him, and also the way he was able to use that fortune to ingratiate himself in these elite networks, that's a really important piece of that puzzle. And then you add that to the reporting from Bloomberg about how Wall Street had no problem with his conviction. They didn't care. As long as he had money, they were going to do deals with him. And they also get into how, and just what a son of a bitch, what a complete asshole this guy was in terms of his hard lines on negotiations. He would play both sides. He would say he was with you in some dispute and tell the other guy he was with them. And then once he picks the winning side, after it's over, then sues all the parties. He's just a completely horrific person to do deals with. But in, the Wall Street world, that was part of what helped him to garner all of his wealth.
Yeah. Billionaire pedophile cabal proven. Let's say that. All right. And then finally, real quick, I do want to squeeze this in. I know we got Cam coming in a minute here. But take a look at this video, guys. Elon Musk managed to piss off everybody with a brain online when he goes after the Somali American community. Take a look.
When people say this is fake, I'm actually, well, let's look at Ilhan Omar, who was voted into power voted into Congress by, you know, a large group of people from Somalia who are in Minnesota, which is really far from Somalia, or Mamdani, who was voted as to be mayor, but but by a majority of people who are not born in America. That's my understanding, at least. And then California is a big time situation. So I don't know. We just don't want to turn into a you know, communist hellhole, basically.
So he says, you know, Ilhan Omar was voted in by a Somali community, and, you know, they're not American. First of all, only 3% of her district is Somali American. 3%. That's point number one.
Some of whom would have been born in America, by the way.
Right. Yeah, of course. But he sees them as black, so they don't count.
Right.
Meanwhile, hey, Elon, your own brother is on video saying that when you guys came here, you were an illegal immigrant. You were an illegal immigrant. So now he does a little crusade against illegal immigrants. Does that not include you? Does that not include you? You're from South Africa. He's going, oh, they weren't even born here. You weren't fucking born here.
Right.
You weren't born here.
Actually, they did come here, by and large, overwhelmingly legally through the proper channels, whereas you apparently didn't. I mean, what we think happened with Elon is they like overstayed their visa, and that's what they did. But yeah, I mean, it's so disgusting what they're doing here. And to go back to what we were talking about with regard to Venezuela and that migrant crisis, like, we used Somalia as like our little Cold War pawn and playground, shipped them a ton of weapons, forced them into these like IMF and World Bank adjustment programs, and forced austerity on them, destabilized and undercut their own like domestic production, crop production ability. Like, I'm not saying we're the whole thing, but we were a big part of destabilizing that country and contributing to the conditions that led to this horrific civil war and led to Somalis having to leave the country, you know, where they would have rather stayed with their families. And so, you know, again, like, we pretend like this just happens in a vacuum, but if you look one layer underneath the surface, you see the way that our own actions contributed to the destabilization that led to a lot of these migration patterns. And then now they're using Somalis. This is like when they did the Haitians, like, eating the cats and the dog shit. The Haitians were here legally as well, right? They hadn't done anything wrong. The cats and the dogs thing was completely bogus, complete bullshit. And so, you know, it's like cool and fun to wear overt racism on your sleeve and to embrace Nazi terminology and Nazi concepts like remigration and a whites-only immigration policy.
Now, by the way, they've made a big deal about there's this alleged fraud scheme being done by some tiny percentage of Somali Americans in Minnesota, and the right has made a big deal out of that. And so I was just diving in a little bit here. The allegations are maybe about $1 billion worth of fraud from a very tiny portion of the Somali American community. Elon Musk has taken $38 billion in U.S. tax money to make rockets that explode. Okay? I'd rather have the money go to the fucking Somalis.
Not to mention,
than go to Elon Musk.
Think of what a criminal he is with what he did with Doge.
He fucking cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels and the CFPB, which is the anti-scam police, and fucking fired nuclear safety officials and had to beg for them to come back, realizing they fired the top guy and didn't mean to. And he stole all the data. He fucking stole everybody's data for his shitty fucking AI, which is poisoning half of Memphis now, by the way. Like, here's the problem. You're the parasite. You're the parasite, Elon Musk. You're the moocher. You're the parasite. You're the problem.
You're the criminal.
You're the criminal. You're the criminal. So, like, all this fucking talk, again, he acts like he fucking owns the place. You're not even American. You were not even born in this country. By your own standard, you don't make the fucking cut. But the fact of the matter is, in his mind, it's actually just, oh, I'm white. Right? I'm white, so it's okay.
I'm white and I'm rich.
Which is why they're bringing in the Boers, right? They said, give me fat white South Africans to come in this country, and then we'll kick all the people of color out.
Yeah, no, they literally have a whites-only immigration policy, refugee policy now, where basically the only people that they are allowing in are white South Africans. And I just, the level of racialism in the Republican Party now coming from the top is truly wild. And I don't think that the majority of the American people are truly this racist, right? I mean, I think they have put themselves in this little bubble. X is a big part of that. they've talked themselves into the view that the average American is effectively a Nazi, and they're wrong. I mean, you can see the mass backlash among Latinos, in particular, among young people, you know, people who voted for Trump and are now like, oh, this is horrible. I don't want this whatsoever. So, you know, this is like, Elon has been a really visible part of this incredibly reactionary shift in the Republican Party. And look, the Republican Party has always been reactionary, but now it's just so overt and it's so out there, and they wear it on their sleeve.
Hey guys, we just did an awesome interview with Cameron Kasky. He's, of course, a gun violence survivor and activist and a candidate for New York's 12th District for Congress. He's running on Medicare for All. He's running on ending the genocide in Gaza. He's running on abolishing ICE. We did a great, longer interview. Definitely sign up below on Substack to see the entire thing and support his campaign.